What was your earliest memory of life in Capron at that time?
Well, nothing but just my sisters and brothers and how we played together. That's all about it. We did, work, go in the garden or work in the field when we got a little older. We did that. But that was about it.
And when you say work in the field, what do you mean by working in the field?
Well, we chop.
Chop what?
Chop cotton, peanuts.
And at what age was that?
What is what?
What age did you work in the field?
What age? Probably about 8.
Now, how did working in the field and going to school, how did that fit into the puzzle?
Not too well. We had to stay out, but when come time to harvest those crops, we had to do it. And we did it. Yeah, the parents got in trouble back then for keeping the kids out of school. Some of them did. I went to Cloyd School and Southampton County Training School. Well, I'm not sure exactly how it come about, but my grandfather, great-grandfather, built that school, and they named it Cloyd School.
I look at this, we struggle every day. Mine might not be like yours might not be like mine. But back there as I was coming up, my grandfather was a man that didn't take no hunching. He was a man that believed in you telling him the truth. If you didn't tell him the truth, the floor hit got you. And I appreciate the way that I was raised. I appreciate the way I was raised up with both colors. I learned how to work with them. But now, a lot of things bothers me now because I didn't go through a lot of things that I see now. I couldn't take it. But we were raised up together. We worked together. And we didn't see all this stuff going on there between the two races.
The only difference that I saw was we walked to school and the white kids rode the bus. And they threw things at us, Well, see, back then when I come up, there wasn't TV. Everybody didn't have a radio. So all they knew was what the people in the community come and told them.
I enjoyed myself in growing up on the farm. My cousins in D.C., we always thought they looked down on us because they was in the city and we was on the farm. But coming up, I tell you, we had bullets, plums, cherry, pecans, apple, pear trees, blueberries, blackberries. And so all of those, you had apple jacks, blueberry cobbler, black cobbler, blackberry cobbler. We had peaches. So all of those things I almost hated to buy when I left home because I knew I could come here and get it free, And the garden. Coming up, we had a huge garden. Mama always had it. So we always had food in the house. I guess the most thing that she had to buy was sugar and flour, something like that, or lard or something like that. But I used to love it in the fall when the community would come together and they would have killing halls. And some would take this and some would take that for thanking them for being there. But the laughter everybody will have to be there to killing halls. And of course I don't eat it now, chitlins, crackers, sour, whatever they had. I don't know even.
I just loved to eat most anything that, was out there. Potatoes, butter beans, peas, cabbage, you name it. We raised it.
Well, after my husband died, I didn't have too much to struggle, 'cause I had struggled all the time. I didn't have too much trouble when he died. I had everything in line. I took care of most of the business anyway with him. I didn't have no struggle after he died. The only thing that it was, I know he was gone.
Well, my children were pretty good ageable when my husband passed. I was holding down a job while he was living. So there was not much of a change to be made.
Were you driving at the time?
Yes, I was driving.
Was that something that many females did back then, drove?
Not in my early years of marriage. Women didn't do much driving. The men was afraid. The men didn't want the wife to drive. I don't think my husband wanted me to drive until he saw what an advantage that it was for the wife to be able to drive.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 launched a new era of politics that allowed everyone to have a voice. It also inspired more Black Americans to register to vote. Before the law's passage, only a third of Black Americans were registered to cast ballots at the polls. In 1967, that percentage increased to more than half. With the elimination of discriminatory tools like literacy tests and poll taxes, Black Americans were more likely to have their voices heard, and as a result, more African Americans were elected to office.
I believe that the democratic process of law will stand, and I will be seated. I have faith in that. Because I feel that I met all of the specifications to run for this office, or this position, I should say, and then I was elected by a majority of the people of this district that was required to vote for me. So again, I feel that the democratic process will stand.
Mississippi leaders like Benny Thompson, Robert Clark, and Unita Blackwell were among those who won elected offices after the law's passage. This federal legislation was adopted to force all states to ensure all voters have an equal opportunity to elect representatives they believed would act on behalf of their communities. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was groundbreaking as it protected the right to vote for all Americans.
I can't remember when the first time I voted, I don't think. But I'm quite sure, I don't believe I voted before I got married. I really don't. And so I probably was up in the age pretty good by the time I voted.
I remember we went to, I think we voted in Capron somewhere. I can't quite remember. I know it better because I know it was a lady behind me. She would ask me, what must we do? I said, I'm getting ready to ask you the same thing. What must we do? And so it was I guess we got to go up there and put a name in. So that was kind of fun off. Yes, at first, it kind of put me on the wonder, because I had seen so much went on. I had seen how we had to walk to school, and they were riding the bus. And I had seen that and all. And then when they started getting together, I kind of was a little doubtful that they were going to really work out as good as it did. I really didn't think it was going to work out that good. But maybe that was the best thing happened when it happened.
I was the first in the first group, integration. It happened in 1970 down here, where they changed Riverview into Southampton Miller School. And it was like you didn't, it was an unease because we always had been in a black school. Now this is the first time, and they did bus some of the kids when I was in the 7th grade to the white schools, but the majority of us was there in the black. So now this is our first time being integrated with the white. And I don't remember, but one thing that one of the teachers called one of the students a monkey. And I think that was the biggest thing that had happened at the school, because it was so much of a rage with the kids that they had to remove that teacher from the school and everything. But because of sports, it's not too much of us getting around and doing anything but sports and everything, which brought our community together, the sports. And and by the time I got into high school, everybody knew me. Everybody knew my family. Everybody wanted to be a part of the family. And that's because our home was so close to the high school, so that the kids won't have to go so far, because it's so far for the kids to come back to the games and everything. They all will huddle at our house. And there has been times where if you come to our home, the yard will have double lines on each side with kids is out there. And it came to a point in my 12th grade year, my mom used to get grab bit, the hot dog used to come in a grab bit bunga. So because there's so many kids and she know they hadn't eaten, they haven't ate, so she would cut up those hot dogs and pork and beans and feed as many of the kids who wanted to put something on their stomach. Or either she'll make some goulash or spaghetti, anything that would put something on the kids' stomach before they went to the games and everything. And we had kids to live with us, and Mom and Daddy just took them in if they wanted to stay. I had one of my friends to say, that's why he loved our family so much, because my father was the first man to ever call him son. Boy, when I heard it, it just overwhelmed me, you know. But in coming up, we hear about things, but we're not really touched with it. I'm in the city, and even there, I don't be touched with things for where I live. But when I do go downtown, sometimes, because I'm an interstate driver, I don't even go into the inner city unless I really have to. But just to see the hurting, it don't allow me to be in touch what's going on, you know, because I may see it, but I have not been touched with it, you know. I would not take nothing from living around here. Now, when you was talking about Nat Turner, it almost put fear at my home church in Richmond. The pastor asked, how do you know you're not racist when your child will marry another race? Where are you in your feelings and everything? And I looked at him, I said, I came up in Southampton County We know white and black, and we do certain things together, but I did not know what it had put in me. And it was, I had came away from it for so long, I can't share the feelings, but when that question came up, and that was years ago, I even told my son, don't you come in here with a white girl. You better all these pretty black girls around here, because I knew he was going to be somebody. But, you know, it seemed like all the young black guys, they was getting white girls. And I told my son, don't you come in here and no coochie coochie woman, none of that, you know. You can find you a nice, presentable black young lady and stuff. And I put that in him until God hit me one day and said, don't you ever say that no more. I don't know how God may use another person to be a blessing in the people of my loved ones' lives and stuff, and even in mine and stuff. I was putting something in him, which put me very mindful on how I presented issues of the world to them.
On a hot day in August 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech that would define the civil rights movement and his legacy. This, of course, was his I Have a Dream speech, delivered on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
The March on Washington served as a massive push for economic and political justice for African Americans. Held during the year celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, crowds marched on the National Mall to watch a variety of musical performances and speeches. Dr. King, a Baptist preacher and prominent civil rights leader, was scheduled to speak towards the end of the day, his debut on the national stage. Up until that point, King mostly addressed small crowds at black churches, rallies, or fundraisers. This time, he would be seen by nearly 250,000 people on the ground, as well as millions at home watching on television. This was an opportunity to reach a wide audience and persuade the public and the government to take action against racial injustice. The night before, King worked with a close group of advisors to get the speech just right. They worked through the night, settling on a final draft in the pre-dawn hours of August 28. Interestingly, the phrase, "I have a dream," a phrase he used in earlier speeches, was nowhere to be found in this copy. The words wouldn't manifest until almost halfway into Dr. King's speech, when gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, who had performed earlier in the day, called out to him from the sidelines to tell them about the dream. King set his prepared remarks aside and improvised the rest, crafting a soaring speech that would sear into the minds of millions of Americans.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
The speech was divided into 2 parts. The first listed the injustices that African Americans faced: segregation, police brutality, disenfranchisement, and discrimination, and urged a call to nonviolent action. The second launched into King's dream of peace and racial harmony, a vision of a future in which people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream.
Highlighting King's skills as a preacher, I Have a Dream was part sermon and part poetry, using rhetorical devices like repetition, rhyme, and vivid metaphor to drive his points home. It was peppered with historic, biblical, and literary references that moved the crowd. This message of struggle and hope became the defining moment not only of King's career, but also the civil rights movement. Both the speech and the March on Washington were credited with helping secure the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a landmark piece of legislation that ended segregation and banned discrimination on the basis of race or sex in the workplace.
Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
The speech also resonated with activists around the globe. I have a dream. The phrase that wasn't even meant to be in his final draft appeared in political actions all around the world. It's considered one of the world's most transformative and influential speeches, alongside others like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and Winston Churchill's Blood, Toil, Tears, and Sweat. I Have a Dream is only one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s many achievements, but it's nonetheless one of the most pivotal.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Well, what I remember about Dr. King, I used to look at him on TV when it started. He always stood up. That's what we fall short of. We were talking, and we would do a little bit, but he stood up to his word. And that's what made me, something, he would do that I enjoy looking at him, enjoy pushing. Then sometimes I said, why he doing that? Somebody gonna hurt him and all. But Dr. King was one that stood on his own 2 feet. And he had the Lord in his heart.
Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy and all. It was sad to us to see what was going on in the world. As I had grown up, people who lived in that era in the city, they were touched with it much more than we were here. We knew that it was going on. We knew what was going on, and we were saddened, but it wasn't no outrage, It wasn't no protesting or nothing like that around here. I remember when Martin Luther King passed, it was a riot in D.C. My uncle was a part of that riot, and he brought home a lot of the things that they looted out of the stores. And my grandfather made him take everything out of the house, what he brought in, because of what and how he received it, So during that time, like, we saw him, we said, oh, you was out there, you did, So to us, he was part of a problem, Like, it almost make us stand off because we was taught that way. You don't get involved with things like that, and you just was so mindful of things.
Couldn't believe it when he was killed. You couldn't believe it. And every time that you put the TV on, you were trying to see what was happening, and everything. And it was kind of sad because he had done so much, and he never went against his race. He never did that. And see, that's our shortcoming too. We'll go against us and one another at a minute. And it shouldn't be that way. Then if something happened to you, they sit there here and talk about you. But when Dr. Luther King died, it really put a hurting on a lot of us. And I think I try to see every little inch of him.
I am somebody. I am somebody. Respect me. Protect me. Never neglect me. I am somebody. Nobody will save us, from us, for us, but us. I may be unskilled, but I am somebody. If my mind can conceive it, and my heart can believe it, I know I can achieve it. I am somebody. I am God's child. yellow, black and white, we're all precious in God's sight. Stand up. Push on. Stand up. Push on. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? Somebody.
Without God, I could do nothing. Without Him, I would fail. Without Him, my life would be rugged like a ship without a sail. I am leaning and depending on Jesus. I am trusting and I know He cares. I am waiting, just waiting for my Savior. I know He'll dry all my tears. Without God, I could do nothing. Without Him, I would fail. Without Him, my life would be rugged like a ship without a sail.
Brass Baptist Church has been good to me. And I thank them, everyone, for being so good to me. And there's so many things I think about the church. And then so a lot about my daughter too. Today. My daughter, Michelle Power. And I'm like, she want to come back there so much right now. She want to be back there right now. She just said the other day, I want to go to Bryan. And I said, as soon as you get back to Bryan, Michelle, as quick as I can. And she said, all right, Mama, you gonna do this for me? I said, yes, I am. And she talk about Bryan Church every time she go home.